My kids have no idea that it is in there. It tastes the exact same to them. And it was getting to the point where it was like, okay, we can't be eating through $30 worth of fruit every single day. I just thought, why not? And because of that connection, she actually was a lot more open to eating them. Just because they're a picky eater now does not mean that they will be a picky eater forever. Hello you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Beth. I make all kinds of videos about my motherhood journey and the things that I learn along the way. And today we are going to be talking all about my favorite toddler food hacks. Now, before I dive into all of the tips, I did want to start by saying that we did do baby-led weaning with both of our kids around the 6-month mark. While baby-led weaning can definitely help with picky eating tendencies in toddlers as they grow up, it is by no means a guarantee that you will not ever have seasons of picky eating with your toddler. Phases of picky eating and picky eating in general are developmentally normal for toddlers, especially in the age range of like 2 to 4 years old. And I think a lot of it really comes down to a control thing. Our toddlers so badly want control. They're starting to realize that they have that independence and they're wanting to exercise that in a lot of different ways. I think it makes a ton of sense that when it comes to one of the things that they can control, what they actually choose to put into their body, we as parents often see them pushing back on that and wanting to have their independence and their preferences heard. So just know right off the hop that it's very normal. You may have done everything you felt like in your power to try and avoid this, but picky eating sometimes just comes with the territory of raising a toddler. All that being said, let's dive into the hacks. My first hack is to incorporate chia seeds wherever possible. If you have never personally had chia seeds before, they are an amazing source of fiber, calcium, omega-3s, antioxidants. So they are an incredible source of nutrients that can help with your child's brain development, immune function, eyesight. And if you have ever dealt with constipation in your toddler, because chia seeds are so full of fiber, literally one of the most fiber-rich foods on the planet, they can also really help to get things moving. So basically, whenever I have a dish that makes sense to add chia seeds to, I add chia seeds. I put them on top of my kids' oatmeal, I put them on top of my kids' toast, I add them into smoothies. Sometimes I will sprinkle it over their Cheerios in the morning if I'm just looking to kind of supercharge their meal that day. So chia seeds are definitely something that I always have on hand and have used in both the baby and toddler stage to just add another level of nutritional balance to the meals that my kids are eating every day. My next hack is another secret weapon when I'm cooking for my toddlers, and it is frozen spinach. I discovered frozen spinach when I started baby-led weaning with my first baby. I felt like I was not working through the spinach in our fridge fast enough, and having to like grind it down was just not really working for me. So I discovered that at the grocery store you can get these little like hunks of frozen spinach. I don't really know how else to describe it, but basically if you warm those up, it breaks down into really tiny, almost invisible spinach that you can mix into really any meal that you want to offer to your toddler. Not only is it amazing for something like a smoothie, I actually find that I use it the most often when I am making pasta for my kids. What I do is usually drop in one of those big hunks of frozen spinach into the pasta sauce while I am cooking it. My kids have no idea that it is in there. It tastes the exact same to them, but I know that I am adding in a secret source of vitamin C, potassium, iron, magnesium, and my kids eat it just the same as they would eat anything else. So that is my second secret weapon hack, is to incorporate frozen spinach into your toddler's meals. My next hack is another thing that you can pick up in the frozen section that I think will change your life as a mom, and it is to start buying frozen fruit. I don't know about you guys, but my toddlers eat so much fruit. I swear we go through so many crates of blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, grapes, bananas, and it was getting to the point where it was like, okay, we can't be eating through $30 worth of fruit every single day. So how can we make this more cost effective and you still actually get the benefit of eating fruit because it's so good for you? And so what we started doing was incorporating more frozen fruit into their diets, and there's a few different ways that I do this. My favorite source of frozen fruit to get is blueberries. I find that they hold up the best when it comes to defrosting in serving them if you want them to just be on your toddler's plate at breakfast, similar to fresh fruit. But I also love frozen blueberries because they work in so many other ways. I love to use them as a topping on oatmeal, on pancakes, on French toast for my kids, and they really just do warm up in a way that almost turns into kind of like a sauce that my kids love and are super happy to eat instead of something like maple syrup. And so I have really leaned into the frozen blueberry thing over the past couple of years. Our kids love them and our bank account definitely loves them as well. My next hack for your toddler is to always include one safe food when you are offering them a plate. And what I mean by that is one food that you know that your toddler loves and is generally accepted by them, or you have seen them really happily eat in the past. I find that this is especially helpful if you are introducing a brand new meal to your toddler. That can feel very overwhelming. I know for myself it can feel very overwhelming to sit down and have a bunch of different textures and flavors offered to me on a plate. And so having something that feels safe to your toddler will give them the freedom to try that new food without feeling like they're going to leave the table hungry. And I think having the opportunity to fill their belly up with something that they know they already love will actually leave them more open to trying something new that you have put on their plate as well. My next hack is to involve your toddler in your food prep. This is something that I shared in my general toddler hacks video that I will link here for you guys if you want to check it out. This has just been something that I have seen be such a game changer with both of our kids now, and I think there's a number of reasons for this. The first is that when my kids feel like they have had some sort of involvement or control or role in preparing what we're about to eat, they feel a sense of ownership and actual excitement going into eating that meal because they feel like they cooked it in a sense. And I have found that my kids have been definitely more open to eating what I've put in front of them when they have had a hand in helping me prepare it, whether that is just passing me things on the counter or actually washing the fruits and veggies that we're going to eat. The level of involvement can be kind of up to you, but I have found that our kids have just really enjoyed that process. And the second reason why I think this works so well is that our kids naturally just snack on the food that we are preparing while we are preparing it. And I have purposefully been really open to that with our kids, especially as I'm preparing something like vegetables, because I know for my kids personally that can be one of the trickier things to incorporate into their diets. And so I remember cooking fajitas or something like that one night with my oldest toddler, and we were up at the counter cutting peppers together, and she just naturally wanted to start snacking on them. And before that, she would never eat peppers. It was like one of the foods that she consistently did not like. But in that process of eating them at the kitchen counter, they're now one of the things that I offer to her on a weekly basis because she really does love eating raw peppers. So whenever possible, look for those opportunities to involve your toddlers in food prep. I think that they do really appreciate being involved in that process, but it also feels kind of fun and sneaky for them to snack on the food that you're preparing as well. Next hack is to introduce dips. I find that this one can be really dependent on where your toddler's motor skills are at because it's not the easiest thing in the world for a toddler to learn how to gracefully dip something and then put it into their mouth instead of just like sticking their whole hand directly into it. That's something that we are working through now with our 17-month-old. But once they can get into the hang of realizing they can dip a food into something that will make it taste better to them, I think it opens up a whole new world of possibilities in terms of what your toddler will actually be willing to eat. Obviously, there are a lot of dips out there and they are not all nutritionally equal, but some examples of ones that we love at our house are hummus. Hummus is also a great source of iron, which is something that our kids need a lot of at a young age, so I love it for that. I also love to incorporate natural peanut butter as a dip because not only is it a much better consistency to use as a dip than some of the processed peanut butter that you'll see in stores, but it's also an amazing natural fat source for your kids. We also love tzatziki over here in full fat Greek yogurt. I just feel like dips in general open up a whole new world of possibility for your toddler once they can get the hang of using them. So I highly recommend them, especially if you are trying to incorporate things like vegetables and you're finding that your kids are more receptive to eating them when there is a dip involved. I know that that is definitely the case in our house. My next hack is to, depending on the age of your toddler, start introducing a dietary supplement. The reason that I love a good, clean dietary supplement is because at the end of the day, you can work so hard hard to prepare the best foods for your toddler and put them in front of them, and they can choose not to eat it. It is so out of our control as parents, and it really is in their control what they choose to put into their bodies at the end of the day. That's why in my house, the Hiya Children's Multivitamin is another one of my secret weapons as a mom. And if you have never heard of Hiya before, it is a pediatrician approved super powered multivitamin for kids over the age of 2. About 93% of kids don't actually get enough fruits and vegetables in their diets. And so Hiya was created by nutritional experts, and it's designed to fill a lot of those really common gaps to give them that full body nourishment with a taste that they love. With my oldest, I was actually kind of hesitant to introduce a dietary supplement or a multivitamin to her diet, because looking at a lot of the multivitamins on the market, a lot of them are filled with sugar, with gummy junk, with unnecessary chemicals to have in her diet every day. But that's why I was so excited to find Hiya, because there is zero gummy junk, zero added sugar, and it still tastes great, to the point where my toddler is actually the one reminding me every morning that she wants to have it with her breakfast. It has a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies and 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including things like vitamin C, vitamin B, zinc, folate, and it will arrive directly on your doorstep on a pediatrician approved schedule. Your kids will at first get this little glass bottle that they can customize with stickers to make it really fun and unique for them. And then every month after, Hiya will send you a plastic-free refill pouch. So not only is it good for your kids, but it's also a better alternative for the planet. If you have a toddler with a food allergy like we do, you can feel confident knowing that Hiya is free of all major allergens like dairy, nuts, gluten, but it's also non-GMO, vegan, and gelatin-free. If you're interested in checking out Hiya for your toddler, you can actually save 50% off of your first purchase if you go to hiyahealth.com/BethMoore. I will also include a link for that in the description box, but again, it is hiyahealth.com/BethMoore to save 50% off of your first purchase. So thank you so much to Hiya for working with us on today's video. I highly suggest that you guys check them out for your toddlers as well. My next hack is to eat meals with your toddler as much as possible. I know that this is not always an easy thing to do, especially when you've got places to be or things on the calendar, but I have found that when we have made meal times feel like a really sacred and important time for our family, where we're all sitting down at the table together and trying to prioritize that as much as possible, our kids have actually eaten a lot more than when we just leave them there and kind of do something else in the kitchen, which I can often be guilty of. I just find that there is something that is so special that they can look forward to about having those relational moments of sitting at the table together, sharing a meal, and actually having some conversation about what they're eating or what their day looked like. And so whenever possible, if you can actually be present with your toddler at the table, they can see you eating and enjoying the same foods that they are having, but also watch you model what it looks like to have a healthy relationship with food. So definitely, whenever possible, try and make the effort to eat at the table with your toddler. My next hack is honestly more for you than it is for your toddler, but it's to try to make your toddler snacks at home. It honestly feels like it happens overnight, but all of a sudden I feel like we all hit this point with our toddlers where they're constantly asking for snacks, kind of regardless of how much they eat at meal times. At least that's how it feels for my toddler sometimes. I ended up deciding to start making some of the snacks that I'd be offering to them at home, simply because of the fact that it would save us a ton of money, but also because of the fact that we would run out of some of those prepackaged snacks and didn't have them as an option a lot of the time. So there are a number of things that, where possible, I do love to try and make at home for my toddlers. Some of those things being low sugar muffins, granola bars, homemade trail mix, energy balls. There are certain snacks that I will just never buy at the grocery store because my kids do love to have the homemade versions of them. And so it's a great way for me to be able to save money, but also to know that the ingredients that they are getting in some of their snacks are so much less processed and so much more minimal. I do think, and I have seen, that there can be a very fine line of getting too crazy about all of that stuff, but I do what I can by choosing to make some alternatives to some of the most popular snacks at home from scratch. My next hack is to try cutting or serving food differently. For me, this is all about serving the same foods in different ways instead of just resigning to the fact that my toddlers may not like that thing, because at the end of the day, we all have preferences and so do our kids. One really simple example of this that I discovered is that my oldest toddler is not really a huge fan of carrots. They have to be cooked a very specific way with a very specific kind of flavoring for her to want to eat them. And so one day I was at the grocery store and I saw that there was a bag of carrots that had actually been cut into what looked like chips. It was almost like a crinkle looking chip. And so I just thought, why not? I grabbed it, I brought it home and I offered it to her, and she ate so many carrots that day. And I took that opportunity of her like really loving and enjoying them to talk to her about the fact that this was so good for her eyesight and how carrots are just such a great source of nutrients. And she got so excited about these carrots. And since then, I have introduced carrots in another way, and because of that connection, she actually was a lot more open to eating them raw. So sometimes your kids just need to try things in a number of different ways before something actually connects, and that's okay. It can take some trial and error, but it is worth not giving up. Next hack is something that I've seen all over Pinterest and had to try for myself recently, and it is the idea of a muffin tin lunch. Now, if you have never seen a muffin tin lunch before, it's basically when you quite literally take a muffin tin and section off into the tin different types of foods and offer them almost like a toddler charcuterie board, but in a muffin tin. I often give our kids kind of like a kid style charcuterie for lunch, but I found that the muffin tin is another great way to add more variety to that. It's very easy to prepare. I find that there is less food waste because each of the pockets are so small that you're not actually able to overfill them with too much food. And so I think it's a really incredible way to offer variety to your toddler while still giving them the freedom to choose what from the muffin tin and how much of that thing they actually want to eat. It is also such a great way to introduce something new to your toddler while having it be very low risk. As we talked about before, having a safe food is something that I think makes them a lot more open to trying new things. So if you want to offer them the muffin tin, you can put like 2 or 3 things on there that are new to them or something that they haven't really responded to well in the past, and they might actually surprise you and eat that thing because there are so many of their favorites already available to them as well. So definitely try it out. The muffin tin lunch is a game changer for picky eaters. I have 2 more hacks for you guys, and my next one is to incorporate mealtime read-alouds. Read-alouds are something that we do in our household all the time, and basically it's an opportunity for me to read a number of books or longer form books to my kids and have them be kind of stationary and open to hearing it instead of just like running around crazy. So I've been doing read alouds with them since they were literally babies in the high chair, but beyond the language development benefits, there are so many more benefits to the read alouds that I think have also really tied back to our kids' relationship with food. One of the main reasons is because I think our kids really look forward to that time of getting to hear a story, and so sitting down at the table and being positioned there for a little while before the meal, during the meal, and after the meal is something that they're open to doing, and I find I'm met with a lot less resistance when I call them to the table. The next thing is that for whatever reason, I notice that there is significantly less pickiness taking place at meal times when a read aloud is happening. I wish I understood what the psychology is behind it, but I don't. All I know is that for whatever reason, our kids seem to be a lot more open to eating what's in front of them during the times where a read aloud is happening. I think read alouds can honestly remove a lot of the pressure that our toddlers probably feel from us when we are sitting at the table and are kind of micromanaging the way that they're interacting with their food. Because I think about for myself, if someone was sitting beside me, I'm trying to eat my food and they're like constantly telling me to take another bite, or why don't you try some of this, or why don't you hold your fork like that? I just feel like that would drive any anybody crazy. And so to be able to just have the pressure off, they're able to enjoy a story, but also again have a little bit of independence and control over the way that they're eating their food. I think that probably is one of the reasons why I notice less picky eating taking place when read alouds are happening. My final toddler food hack for you guys is to not say your toddler's no for them. I think so often we can subconsciously kind of project our own picky eating and preferences for food onto our kids and then be surprised when they mirror that back to us. I have specific memories of asking my mom basically for like the play-by-play on what I did and didn't like as a kid because I was just looking for her guidance on that. And I think the issue is that sometimes for our kids we can feed into this by saying like, oh, I don't think that they'll like that, or I don't think that you'll enjoy that texture, or simply just not introducing things to their diets at all or buying those things because we won't eat them and we don't want them in our house. Something that I did with both of our kids when they were babies is the 100 foods before one challenge, and I think it made such a difference in their overall palate and preferences and openness to different textures and flavors from an early age, because it really forced me out of my own comfort zone and out of my own kind of, I don't know, 50 foods that I buy for our house on a weekly basis to say, let's go beyond that. I'm not gonna say you're no for you. Let's try some different things and see how you respond to them. And so I'm very happy to report that although I personally cannot stand seafood, that both of our kids love it. And I think it is because they've had that exposure. I didn't want to say their no for them, and we're reaping the benefit of that now. So as much as it helped to have started that from an early age, I don't think that it's too late to ever grow out of picky eating and having preferences for different things. I think you just have to be open to trying new things, and you can start modeling that for your toddler, but also just give them the opportunities to try things that they wouldn't try before, and they may actually surprise you with how many things that they would be really interested in eating if they had the opportunity to eat them. Those are all of the toddler food hacks that I have for you guys today. I just want to say again that if you are going through a season of picky eating right now with your toddler, or this is something that you've kind of always struggled with, know that you are not failing in any way as a parent. Again, every child is so unique, and the way that this shows up for every child is going to be unique, and just because they're a picky eater now does not mean that they will be a picky eater forever. I know for myself, remembering that my toddlers are really just wanting to exercise a lot of this new independence that they're experiencing and wanting to take back a little bit of control, that it's freed me up to give them a lot more grace and to take the pressure off of meal times and to stop telling them that they need to take another bite or coercing them to eat different foods, because at the end of the day, what's more important is setting them up to have a healthy relationship with food in general. We kind of just have to trust that they will eat when they are ready, and that they will pick up and learn how to be intuitive with their bodies and how to be intuitive with eating when we give them the opportunity to practice that. So model what you want to see from them at meal times, teach them all about the fun ways that foods can nourish our bodies, and hang in there, because I really do believe that this season of picky eating will end for you soon. If anyone else has any other toddler food hacks or things that you have found have really worked for your toddler to encourage them to eat a more nutritious diet, I would love to hear them. So feel free to share them in the comment section below. I also wanted to remind you guys that if you want to check out the Hiya multivitamin, that it is such a great way to get some of those essential vitamins and minerals into your children's diets. All you have to do is go to hiyahealth.com/BethMoore to check them out and to save 50% off of your first purchase. So thank you to Hiya for working with me on this video. Thank you guys for being here, and until my next video, I love you guys, I'm praying for you guys, and I will see you soon.